Could eating the wrong fruits quietly speed up cognitive decline and increase the risk of Alzheimer's later in life? That is the uncomfortable question most people never ask when they reach for a smoothie bowl or a fruit jam on toast. Today, I am going to show you that not all fruits are equal for your brain, and that 10 fruits can actively support memory, concentration, and resilience against neuroinflammation, while 5 common choices may accelerate processes linked to amyloid accumulation and glycation. If you watch until the end, you will get a ranked top 10 with simple serving tips, 5 fruits to avoid with safer swaps, a short primer on the biology behind cognitive decline, and a practical month-by-month plan to track changes in memory and mood. This is for anyone who wants food that helps keep the mind sharp, not for fad promises, but for actionable guidance rooted in studies from the Alzheimer's Association, the National Institutes of Health, and clinical nutrition research. Stay with me because the difference between picking the right fruit and the wrong fruit can change how you feel at work and how you remember family moments. I have worked with patients and families in cognitive clinics and community kitchens, and I have seen diets that shift trajectories. So I speak from practice and from the lab side as well. Before we jump into lists, we need a clear context about why fruit choice matters and what happens in the brain when diet helps or harms it. Cognitive decline is not a single sudden event. It is a slow change driven by chronic processes like neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance in the brain, and the accumulation of misfolded proteins such as amyloid beta and tau. These processes are influenced by lifestyle and diet, and fruit consumption plays a specific role because fruits deliver sugars, fibers, micronutrients, and bioactive compounds that can either protect neurons or feed pathways that worsen glycation and inflammation. For example, diets high in refined sugars and concentrated fructose can raise triglycerides and reduce brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which impairs synaptic plasticity. On the other hand, flavonoids, anthocyanins, and certain polyphenols found in berries and pomegranates reduce oxidative stress and support blood flow to the hippocampus. The public conversation often confuses natural fruit sugar with processed sugar, but the metabolic impact depends on dose, the matrix of fiber, and the presence of protective phytochemicals. Authorities like the Alzheimer's Association advise reducing vascular risk factors, maintaining healthy weight, and controlling metabolic syndrome. And nutrition research increasingly lists specific fruits as neuroprotective or risky depending on these mechanisms. Now that you see the stakes and why a single fruit choice can add up over months and years, let's clarify the technical concepts that will guide every recommendation here. The first concept is glycation, which is the chemical binding of sugars to proteins and lipids that builds up advanced glycation end products. These products stiffen tissues and promote inflammation in the brain. Second is insulin resistance in the brain, which reduces glucose uptake and can impair cognition. Third is antioxidant capacity, measured as ORAC in some studies, though that metric has limitations. Fourth is bioactive compounds such as flavonoids, anthocyanins, elagitannins, and punicalagins, which modulate neuroinflammation and blood-brain barrier integrity. Fifth is the idea of sugar load, which we will treat as both immediate sugar impact and cumulative daily exposure. I will translate these into practical rules for choosing portions, preparations, and pairings so you can make each fruit meal brain-friendly. Now, how do you evaluate a fruit quickly at the market? Look at sugar per serving. Then ask what else comes with it. Does it have fibers? Soluble fibers are best. Does it bring known neuroprotective compounds like anthocyanins? Does the preparation add sugars? Is it dried or concentrated, which concentrates fructose and glycation risk? A practical way to estimate impact is to check total sugar per typical portion, then halve that value if the fruit is eaten with a protein or healthy fat, which slows absorption. I will give examples for each fruit so you do not need to calculate on the fly. Also, avoid bottled juices and sweetened pulpas because processing removes fiber and concentrates sugars. If you want to be precise, weigh a serving of 100 grams and compare sugars and fiber on a nutritional table. But for daily life, use the rule of thumb I will show in the list. Before the list, a short practical exchange in the kitchen to anchor this advice in an everyday scene. You will see sensory details so you can picture the choices clearly. Maria, the nutritionist, knocks on the apartment door, and Robert, the son of a woman in the early stages of memory loss, opens the fridge. The light is cool, and a faint citrus scent lingers in the air. Maria says, "What are you planning for Mom's snack?" Robert replies, "I was thinking a banana and a glass of orange juice." Maria pauses and listens to the small hum of the refrigerator, then says, "Let me show you two options that feel similar but act very differently in the brain." Robert looks at the banana peel, the skin slightly speckled. He hears the clink of a jar being set on the counter and asks, "Isn't banana safe?" Maria answers with a clear, calm tone. "It can be, but timing and pairing matter. We'll swap to a berry mix with walnuts and a spoon of plain yogurt." Robert touches the cold ceramic bowl and smells the bright berries and asks, "Will she like the texture?" Maria squeezes a blueberry between thumb and finger and smiles. Yes, the burst of juice is satisfying, and the tartness reduces the need for sweeteners. That short dialogue shows how small sensory cues and swaps can change the metabolic and cognitive impact of a snack. Now the main list, the 10 best fruits for 10 ranked 10 to 1 with reasons and preparation tips. 10. Kiwi. Fresh, grassy aroma, fuzzy touch with a firm pulp. The kiwi brings vitamin C, pectin, and modest sugars. Eat sliced with cottage cheese or a spoon of Greek yogurt to slow absorption. Avoid kanzi varieties that are overripe and sugary. 9. Pears. Subtle floral scent, the skin offers pectin and soluble fiber which reduces glycation risk. Roast slices briefly with cinnamon but avoid glazing. Pears are gentle on blood sugar when portioned. 10 to 15 grams of fiber per medium pear is a myth, not true, but the pectin content is meaningful. 8. Blackberries. Dark purple juice stains the fingertips. Anthocyanins are abundant. They provide antioxidant effects and support microvascular flow. Toss into oatmeal, top a salad, or blend into a low-sugar smoothie with lemon and a pinch of sea salt. 7. Oranges. The bright citrus fragrance and pulpy bite deliver vitamin C and flavonones that improve circulation. Eat whole rather than juiced to preserve fiber and pair with almonds to blunt sugar spikes. 6. Apples. Crisp sound when bitten, sweet tart aroma, skin crisp. Tack an apple to sliced sharp cheese to create a protein-fat pairing that reduces acute sugar load. Avoid apple sauces with added sugars. 5. Cherries. Deep scent of earth and summer, the anthocyanins reduce markers of inflammation. Particularly Montmorency tart cherries may help sleep, which supports consolidation of memory. Consume fresh or frozen, not in syrup. 4. Pomegranates. Jewel-like seeds burst with a bright tartness containing elygitinins that have been linked to reduced amyloid in animal models. Sprinkle arrows over salad or yogurt. Avoid bottled pomegranate juice, which is concentrated in sugar. 3. Grapes. Small, smooth skins pop with sweet juice. Antioxidant content is variable. Choose red grapes for more polyphenols, but limit portion to a handful. And never consume large quantities of raisins, which concentrate fructose. 2. Avocados. Not often called a fruit, yet creamy, buttery aroma and dense with monounsaturated fats. These fats support neuronal membranes and reduce inflammation. Add slices to toast with olive oil and lemon instead of jam. 1. Blueberries. The final and top-ranked, the small taste of summer and a perfume of rich berry notes. Blueberries are the best studied for cognitive function. They contain high levels of anthocyanins and flavonoids that increase BDNF and improve memory in short-term trials. Eat raw or lightly warmed, and combined with nuts or seeds to slow absorption. As you heard, I included preparation, warnings, and swaps. For each fruit, avoid the desiccated or candied versions which concentrate fructose and accelerate glycation. Avoid bottled pulps and sweetened compotes. Fresh or frozen without additives are preferable. Now, 5 fruits to avoid, from least problematic to worst. 5. Canned fruit in sugary syrups. The soft texture and sweet smell hide concentrated sugars. Swap to fresh or frozen in water. 4. Dried grapes or raisins. The sticky texture and concentrated sweetness spike blood sugar and increase glycation. Swap to small portion fresh grapes or a handful of nuts. 3 large portions of mango. Ripe mangoes have a perfume that tricks appetite, and the high sugar content can be problematic in large servings. Try half a mango with protein. 2 sweetened dried apricots. These are often treated and sugar-coated. The chew is pleasant, but the impact on insulin and glycation is high. Swap to fresh apricot when in season. 1 fruit to avoid most. The fruit that is worst for brain outcomes is commercial fruit juice and concentrated tropical fruit cocktails. They look bright and smell inviting, but they are essentially sugar water without fiber. In observational studies, regular consumption of sweetened fruit juice is associated with higher risk of cognitive decline and markers of inflammation. Always choose whole fruit or water-based infusions instead. Throughout this content, you heard terms like amyloid, neuroinflammation, glycation, flavonoids, and BDNF. Let me place a clear caveat and a call to action. If you're watching and you have family history of dementia or metabolic conditions, talk to your clinician about monitoring markers such as fasting glucose, triglycerides, and homocysteine, and consider a comprehensive metabolic assessment. I will pause here to invite your participation. If you have a favorite fruit you miss or worry about, please comment with one word, for example, mango or blueberry. Your comment helps me prioritize future videos and builds a community that learns together. I read many comments and I use them to plan evidence-based content. Now back to practical context and the wider diet. Fruits do not act in isolation. A brain-friendly plate balances vegetables, whole grains, legumes, proteins, and healthy fats. The Mediterranean-style approach with low processed foods, moderate red meat, and emphasis on olive oil and nuts complements the fruits listed here. Focus on meal patterns that stabilize glucose and reduce chronic inflammation. Sleep quality, social engagement, and regular physical activity, especially strength training and aerobic exercise, all support cognitive resilience. For people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, the same principles apply, though individualization is essential. So consider consulting nutritionists like Maria, or clinicians such as Dr. Patel, or neurologists like Dr. Chen, who specialize in cognition, to design a plan. The goal is diet that reduces risk factors for vascular disease and metabolic dysfunction while delivering neuroprotective phytochemicals. We need to name some people who appear in stories and reactions, so the narrative feels lived in. Dr. Patel, a neurologist who runs a memory clinic, shares relevant studies. Researcher Dr. Chen published on berries and BDNF. Nutritionist Maria runs community workshops. Linda, the neighbor, brings snacks. Chef James experiments with low-sugar preserves. Caregiver Anna manages meal timing, and Robert, the adult son, observes cognitive changes. Patient Evelyn is a volunteer who tested swaps and reports improvements. Each of these people contributes practical insight and social support, which is often the decisive factor in sustaining dietary change. Now, 2 moments of tension that many families face, and how to handle them. The first moment is the dinner table showdown when a well-meaning relative brings a homemade jam or a sugared salad dressing that seems harmless but introduces a habit of sweet palates. This is a high-emotion scene, with guilt and tradition clashing with health needs. Address it by naming the risk calmly, offer an alternative, like a fresh fruit compote with no sugar, and explain you value the gesture but need to protect long-term memory. The second moment is when lab results show worsening triglycerides or rising fasting glucose despite good intentions. Panic and shame can lead to quick, restrictive diets that are unsustainable. Instead, pause and reframe with a small plan for substitution, portion control, and monitoring. Over time, these measured steps reduce guilt and create progress. Finally, the epilogue: practical outcomes and what to expect at 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. First month. At 1 month, you will notice changes in craving patterns and perhaps small shifts in energy. If you swap high-sugar snacks for the brain-friendly top 10, you may feel fewer mid-afternoon dips. Look for improvements in sleep onset if you included cherries and reductions in nighttime snacking. Track one metric such as fasting glucose or subjective memory using a simple 3-question checklist. Once a week, jot down mood and sleep quality. Names like Maria and Linda will help maintain accountability. Share photos in a community group to reinforce behavior. Third month. At 3 months, biochemical changes are more likely. The combination of reduced glycation, lowered triglycerides, and increased intake of flavonoids can influence inflammatory markers and BDNF levels. Studies often show cognitive test improvements in 3-month interventions. Expect better attention span, less forgetfulness for appointments, and improved verbal fluency if you practice mental tasks alongside dietary change. If you work with Dr. Patel or Dr. Chen, they may reorder medications or suggest supplements based on labs. Continue to prioritize whole fruits and avoid dried and bottled concentrates. 6 months. At 6 months, measurable clinical improvements are plausible. With sustained habits, you may see improved metabolic panels, lower HbA1c in people with insulin resistance, better lipid profiles, and subjective improvements in day-to-day memory. For caregivers like Anna and patients like Evelyn, this is often the milestone when lifestyle changes feel worth the effort. Community and social support become resilient and sustainable at this point. If you have a team, including a nutritionist like Maria and a clinician like Dr. Patel, you can refine the plan and set new targets such as structured cognitive training or adjusted portioning. To close, a quick recap. You learned why glycation, amyloid, neuroinflammation, and nutrient density matter. You got a ranked top 10 of brain-friendly fruits with specific pairings and preparation warnings, and you saw 5 fruits to avoid with practical substitutions. You also received a month-by-month epilogue to track real progress. If this information helped you, please comment with 1 fruit word so I know what to cover next, and consider subscribing for more evidence-based practical guides. I regularly review studies from the Alzheimer's Association, the National Institutes of Health, and peer-reviewed trials, and I bring them into everyday recipes and plans. Remember, small changes compound. New habits like swapping a sweetened juice for a bowl of blueberries and walnuts, or choosing a pomegranate arrow sprinkle instead of a sugary glaze, protect your neurons over time. Start with 1 swap this week and notice the difference. Your brain will thank you. 1 snack at a time.